Welcome, everyone. It's the 4th of April, 4/4/2020. Here we are. Lots and lots to talk about today. My name is Dr. Samara Grace Daniels, and I'm coming to you live from the beautiful garden island of Kauai. And I got to tell you, it's a beautiful sunny day. The clouds are out. On some level, you might not know what's going on, but if you go down to the beach and you only see two people, or you drive down the road and you see hardly anyone, or you think about going into a store and you realize you have to stand in line and wait your turn 6 feet apart before the next person is gone. So all of us are adjusting to life under coronavirus. And I know Mother Mary is going to talk about that in just a moment, but I think one of the things to realize is that the spiritual work that each of us has been doing in whatever way that has worked for us, has been going on for most of our lives. Most of the people that are attracted to my Mother Mary are on their own spiritual path, are spiritual warriors in their own way, spiritual light workers, ambassadors. And so we've all been doing this a good long while. And yet, at least for me, this took me by surprise. And then I had to sit with it. It took me a few days to just really take in the gravity of what was happening and to have my human reaction of fear and to have my human reaction of wanting to circle the wagons and, pull the covers over my head and hide for a while. And then, of course, I sort of broke myself out of that and I called on all the light that I know, Mother Mary, the archangels, Metatron, everybody. And I said, okay, this is here. What's for me to do? What's mine to do? Because I think that's the question we want to reflect on today. We can want it to go away. We can wash our hands and put on face masks. We can do everything that is appropriate for us to do. And at the same time, we have no control individually about how close the virus is going to come to us or our families and friends. And so it's this moment in time when we're sort of all in this gigantic cauldron together. And I don't believe it's up to any one of us to have the solution, to know what to do. I believe it's up to all of us. And so despite our passion for individuality, despite our passion for free will and making our own decisions and not letting anybody else tell me what to do and all that, it's really a time when we have to kind of dig in and think about, if I'm a spiritual first responder, we have our amazing healthcare workers, our amazing doctors, nurses, everybody who works in a hospital, the ambulance drivers, the EMTs, the police. I could just weep with gratitude for them. At the same time, I feel like those of us that are in this particular line of work, we're the spiritual first responders. We really are. And so we may want to just hunker down in our house and, wait till the storm passes, but that's not why we signed up. That's not what we signed up for. We signed up, and Mother Mary will talk about this, when there was the most to gain and the most to lose. So we signed up for this time. And so over the last couple of weeks, as I've, like all of us, been on timeout, I've asked again and again, what is mine to do? So I want to kind of highlight that question before I bring in Mother Mary and just invite you to reflect in your own way, what is mine to do? I'm so grateful for the healthcare workers and the police and bless the grocery clerks, and the garbage people, and, they're keeping our world running. And at the same time, there's a tremendous amount of worry and concern about how is this going to unfold? What's it going to mean economically? What's it going to mean? How long is it going to last? What does it mean to me, to my family, to my friends, to my community, and to the world? And Mother Mary is going to go into that in just a moment, but what I wanted to say from my vantage point is, once I got over the shock, I began to look back over the last, I've been channeling Mother Mary for 23 years, the last 23 years, and I felt like oh my God, everything has been preparing me for this time. Everything. All the times that she would ask me to do something and I'd go, what? You want me to do what? I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And ultimately I would do it anyway. It's like everything was preparing me for this time. And I wanted to just read you two brief things, because also right now I'm working on my book about my adventures with Mother Mary. And the very first time I channeled Mother Mary for the public, so outside my little chosen meditation group, was in Scottsdale, Arizona on June 28th of 1998. And I was petrified. This was in the library. She had told me to go to the library because that's where people come to learn. And I thought, oh my God, are they going to throw tomatoes? Are they going to arrest me? You know, like what's going to happen? All that stuff. So I had to work through my own unwillingness, my own discomfort. And those are the two words I want us to kind of sit with a little bit later, our own discomfort and our own willingness or unwillingness to face what has shown up for all of us on the planet. So anyway, I got there. There were about 25 people in the group that came. About half of them were my friends and half of them were people that just somehow wandered in. And I said my prayer and I asked, you know, to be a clear channel for Mother Mary. And she came through and said this: I ask only that you listen with your heart to what I now say. The words of truth are seldom heard. Your society has created this semblance of reality, this mockery of justice, this chicanery that is called the news. When was the last time you turned on the news and felt good in your heart? I come with grand news. Each of you today that sits here has come to be reminded of an agreement. It was an agreement that you made before you incarnated. It was an agreement about your purpose here on the earth. It was an agreement about your capacity to bring the great gifts that each of you bring. I'm here to remind you that your presence is requested, your participation is needed, your lives are required for the earth to take the next step. Yeah, 1998. Whew. So for the last 23 years, she has been talking about what is truth, what is true. And the fact that most of what we read is someone else's version of what they believe is true. And for those of us that have read the Bible, you go back to, and Jesus said, you know ye the truth and the truth shall set you free. But bear in mind, Jesus did not write the Bible. My belief is that what Jesus was saying was, know your truth, know what is true for you, know what is honorable and congruent and correct for you, and then operate from that system. So over the last few weeks, as I tuned into the news, every once in a while, I'm very sparse with it anymore. It was nearly impossible not to remember Mother Mary's words about the words of truth are seldom heard, because you'd hear, you know, the president saying one thing and then Dr. Fauci saying something else, and then you go online and you read a whole bunch of other conspiracy stuff, and you know, like, what's really true? And at least for me at this moment, what I'll say is what's true is there's a virus here. There's a virus here. And what's true is every country in our world has cases. Every country in the world has cases. Every religion, every socioeconomic group, every, you know, ethnic background, everybody. There's nobody separate. So now my question becomes, and this is what Mother Mary will talk about in just a moment. So what do we do with that? We all have this thing in the world right now that's a virus. And of course, we want to wash our hands and wear masks if that's what you want to do, and stay 6 feet away and all those good things. But there are still people getting it who have done those things. So what do we do? What does it mean? Why is there a virus here? And most importantly, what's our part in all of that? So what I'd like to do is just share with you Mother Mary's thoughts on all of this for you to consider. And I always ask to be a clear channel, but what that means for me is that you take in what is true for you and let go of anything that doesn't feel true for you. Because all I can ever do is share what's true for me. So without further ado, let's see what Mother Mary has to offer. All right, well, this is going to be a advanced class in radiance. I'm going to give you an advanced class in radiance. Most of you understand this idea about immune system, right? Like, I want to have a strong immune system. So I'm taking vitamin C and I'm walking outside and I'm taking care of my body and I'm eating, you know, in many cases, I'm eating organic foods, and all of that's just wonderful. But the biggest enemy of radiance is the small mind, M-I-N-D, the small mind. The one that says, oh my God, isn't it awful? Oh my God, I put my hand on the counter before I washed it off. Oh my God, that person 10 feet away from me sneezed. Could it possibly come this far? Oh my God, why did this person do, you know, it's the small mind. Every time your mind has one of these thoughts, these separative thoughts, even if it's directed against, you know, someone who's clearly lying to you. I mean, we already went over that when Samara read that statement from all those years ago. Clearly, your political leadership is lying to you. I mean, wake up, right? But so what? So they're lying. So now what do you do? What do you do with that? What do you do with that? You have to find what is true for you. So to understand something, I want you to really picture that each of you is made of light, L-I-G-H-T. You're made of light, right? That's what you're made of. You can even take an electron microscope and prove it for those of you that are scientifically inclined. You know, go and watch some of those wonderful things on YouTube where they prove, you know, that you're really just energy, right? So you're made of light. You're made of light. Wrapped in that light, in your body, is your God mind and what I'll call your little mind, right? Your little mind. Your God mind says, all is well. I'm the most powerful light that is Elaine, that is Janie, that is Lee, etc., etc. I'm made of light. I'm going to give you a word that I hope you continue to use, and that word is inviolate. Many of you use the violet flame, and that's quite lovely. But if you just take that in for a moment, I am an inviolate light of love. I am an inviolate light of love. What you've just done is the equivalent of eating organic food for 5 years, whatever, right? Because what happens is the little mind eats up, just like bad food, fast food, all these terrible things, you know. And what it does then is that little mind starts to think it's in charge, starts to think it's really the one who's making things happen here. And if you let that keep happening, then that is what's happening. So what you want to do is not feed the little mind. You want to feed the God mind, the goddess that you, and the God that each of you are. So I'm going to talk about how to do that. But just understand it literally from the physics of it. If your small mind's running around full of worry and doubt and concern and seeing everyone else as a potential breeder and enemy of the, bringing the virus to me, and I'm constantly trying to fend it off, and I'm wearing masks and I'm wearing gloves and I'm doing all this. So everything in you has now created that you're living in the paradigm of the enemy and the victim, right? And so that becomes more and more your reality. And as you all know from physics, that which you believe you attract. So literally your immune system and your radiance is going down if you give your dominion to the small mind, right? Got that? And I'm not saying it will never erupt and it will never say anything, this is still a human journey. So the idea of how to build your immune system is to realize I now identify not only as the human being that I've incarnated to be, but as the light bringer I know I'm to be. The light bearer and the light bringer. So it becomes a choice every day, sometimes 100 times that day, to say, who will I feed? Who will I feed? The little part of me that wants to stay inside and put the covers over my head and watch TV constantly, seeing how the bodies are piling up and all these terrible things that are happening. Or do I want to say, okay, that is what's happening, and my defense, my ability to respond to it, instead of being a defense, I'm going to go on offense. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is you build up your immunity, your radiance, your light. So you are full of joyous love, peace, etc., etc. And I'm going to give you a practice. We'll do it together in a couple of minutes. But I want to give you the overview first. So you realize the more I develop my love body, my God mind, first of all, I'm going to feel so much better, but also now I can go into that world and bring something of value, bring something of beauty, bring something of light to any and all, whether it's the grocery store or waving to the people on the beach or whatever you're doing. So this is the time that is, well, I want to use an example that might seem a little odd at the moment. Most of you were still alive when Nelson Mandela was imprisoned, right? Did you know he was in prison for 27 years? Can you imagine? For speaking the truth, for wanting freedom for his people. How did he stay sane for 27 years and come out and become the president of his country? Right? So from a logical small mind point of view, that's impossible, right? You don't go to prison for 27 years and come out and be elected president. So what did he do? I want to show you and help you really get what he did. He kept believing in his vision. He kept knowing his truth, that he had come to banish apartheid and free the people of South Africa. Period. And so rather than sit there in prison and say, boy, I'm not doing very well with my vision, that would have been his small mind talking. He just kept praying and seeing the day he would be liberated, the day he would be free. And knowing, this is the piece that is so, vital right now. To know ye the truth, and the truth shall set you free. What does it mean to know? It means every fiber, every cell in your being knows you are a child of God in a human incarnation, here to bring your light, period. Now, not everyone's here to build an orphanage like Mother Teresa did, or to free a whole country like Nelson Mandela did. But I promise you, each of you is here to bring your light to bear in a world that desperately, desperately needs more light. It's true. And yet, what I also want to say is that unless you build up your own system, with the way the world is right now, it's like trying to save someone who's drowning. They could pull you down too, right? Not because they necessarily want to, but simply out of their desperation. So the first and most important job is to build up your radiance. Now, Elaine was mentioning she has yoga and bike rides, right? Beautiful, beautiful. Both of those things in general are free and available to most people, right? There are so many things that we're not doing when we're afraid that contribute to lessening our radiance and lowering our immune system. So it's very important to realize I now need to boost my radiance and my immunity, right? By watching funny movies, by only looking for the good things on Facebook, by posting only the good things on Facebook or whatever. But I want to give you one more thing before we do our practice, and that is this idea. Become a community of kindness. So what do I mean by that? The first community of kindness is your own body, heart, mind, and being. Please, please stop that small mind criticism. I could have done more. I weigh too much. My hair's a mess. I ate 2 donuts, whatever, right? Stop, stop, stop. Because this too is creating separation in yourself, in your own community. The body, heart, mind, and spirit are meant to be the first community, your community. To love yourself, to love your body, to realize, yes, I had 2 donuts. Oh, well, I'll have a salad tomorrow or not. It's like judgment and guilt and blame and all of those ideas are pathogens. They're pathogens that lower your immunity. So by creating a community of kindness in yourself and saying, I want to be ruled by my heart, informed by my spirit, to feel love and to radiate love and light. And therefore, then all my decisions will have that as sort of the city charter. You have your own charter for each of you, right? Because sometimes it's hard for me because I want to use the word love, but it's so misunderstood. So that's why I'm choosing kindness. So by being kind to yourself, to your body, to your heart, to your mind, now you are, and please write this down, you are a unified field. You are a unified field of light and love, directed by your heart and your spirit. And therefore, you are inviolate. And this may take a little practice, and we're going to do a practice in a moment or two, but this is so vital. You all came to be my heart and hands and love in this time that we're in. You know, I can do what I do, but thanks to Samara, you can hear me, but most of you can hear me anyway. I talk to all of you. But it's like there's going to be challenges ahead, right? They're already here. But yet, if you are a unified field of light, innocent, inviolate, infinite, whatever comes, you will easily, joyfully be able to respond. Once you have that at least 80% going on, we're going with B to B plus. Now you start that community of kindness with your loved ones, your spouse, if you have one, your children or grandchildren, the people around you. If you go to a workplace or you have a Zoom workplace these days, those people. And you just share this in whatever way. I don't need any credit. You know, you can just tell them you're trying a new practice or whatever feels right to you. But explaining to them, you can explain to them really scientifically. Every time you have a negative thought, you create a pathogen in your body that your body then has to respond to. So we're trying out a new experiment in creating communities of kindness. So once you've done yourself and then your spouse or friends or family that you have around you, workers, etc., now comes the real work, your community. Whether it's the grocery store or the post office or wherever you're allowed to go out these days, you can also do it from inside. Many of you send energy, Reiki, whatever, beautiful. And that's part of the practice we'll do in just a moment. But the work is to realize all of the people who are currently letting their small mind race through all of these fearful thoughts without countering that with positive choices are propelling greater and greater numbers of the virus. And so, you know, I know your scientists are trying to show you the curve and when will this happen and when will that happen, and you know, that's somewhat helpful. But what I'm telling you is truly helpful. If you are in fear, you are much more likely to experience something you don't want to experience. So it's time to be the warriors of love. So how do we do that? Whether or not you have a belief in Christianity, whether or not you have an affinity for Jesus, what I want you to understand is that what has been written about him and what has confined the true message has been an attempt to extract for the most part, money and power. So the message of Jesus, the pure message of Jesus was, love is the answer, and all that I do, you can do and more. Boil it all down. So now is the time for all of you to take that idea, that promise, and breathe that into you and your life, so that you take that Christ light and you basically, if it's Elaine, you say, okay, I'm taking that message of Jesus that I can do all that he could do and more. And now I'm aligning that with my body, heart, mind, my unified field. And I know I'll be shown or guided as to how that should manifest. Just like Meet Samara in Florida, right? All those years ago. Or go to Egypt, etc. Okay. So are you ready for a beautiful practice you can each do at home for free? Nod your heads. Okay. It's helpful to have meditated for a few minutes first, but it's not necessary. It's helpful to be sitting where there's some beauty you can see, but it's not necessary. Because the idea is now, how do I become that unified field? And so you begin, I begin in prayer position. You can begin putting your hands over your heart or putting them up or whatever feels right. And from your third eye, right here, you send out a beam. Even if you don't know how, just intend that. And now, here's the important part. You command, let there be light. So I have you all on mute at the moment, but I would like you to say it out loud, even though it won't appear in the recording, because it's going to have a power for you. So when I've counted to 3, I would like you to say out loud, with all of that power of your unified field, let there be light. 1, 2, 3. Okay, beautiful. Now what you've done is you've allowed your body and being to summon and command the light that of course you already are, to be joined to all the light that there is and the light from which you came. Once you've just had a moment or two of that, then the next thing is you just take a moment, and again, I know you're on mute, but it's fine if you repeat after me. I breathe in light. Feel that coming into your body, into your heart, into your mind. I breathe in light. And the third time, I breathe in light. And now, because as we know, as you give, so you receive, and as within, so without. Now for these next few lines, and again, you can repeat them because you're all on mute. What we're going to do is basically say, I breathe in light, feeling that, and then I breathe out love, and there'll be several other things. So together, I breathe in light, I breathe out love. I breathe in light, I breathe out healing. I breathe in light, I breathe out balance. I breathe in light, I breathe out harmony. I breathe in light, I breathe out justice. I breathe in light, I breathe out abundance. I breathe in light, I breathe out harmony. I breathe in light, I breathe out peace. I breathe in light, I breathe in light, I breathe in light. So just take a moment and feel how full of light you are right now, because you have chosen to summon it, to command it, to breathe it in, and now to send it out as a blessing. And you may have noticed I did not send it out to a particular individual. That can come a little bit later. The reason we're doing it in terms of qualities that we want to see in the world, rather than individuals at this moment, is that we need the strength of those qualities. So the individuals who perhaps are not yet in a level of acceptance, that they can trust what you're sending them. So by putting these qualities into the world, we lay the foundation, we lay the groundwork, so that in about 2 weeks or so, now you can do exactly the same thing, and you can have an image in mind of a person or a country or a difficulty, and you can do exactly the same thing. But for this beginning, because the entire planet is engaged in this cloud of fear around the virus, it's very, very important to put something else into that environment that then begins to build, as I said, a foundation of peace. You may certainly add other qualities, but this is something you can do every day on your walk, or as you're riding your bike, or in meditation. Breathe in light, breathe out peace, breathe in light, breathe out love. All of this is not only within your power, it's within the promise that you made. So I guess I'm calling that promise due. And realizing that right now in the world, can you just imagine, instead of looking at the numbers of people that are having this virus, imagine seeing that you're doing this. And of course, there are thousands and thousands of other beautiful light bearers doing it on Zoom and in other ways throughout the planet. So begin to see that in your mind's eye rather than the numbers of people with the virus. Begin to see, today I see 1,000 prayers going out. Tomorrow I see 2,000. Let that be the multiplication that you see and feel and join with. That, my dearest darlings, will be so precious and wonderful. Before we end the recording, and then I'll be glad to take questions, Samara wanted to share a poem that she wrote, again, back sometime in the 1980s. And it's so in keeping with everything that we're doing right now. So I wanted it to be on the video for everyone. So Samara wrote a poem called A Call to Common Ground. This is a time of chaos. This is a time for healing. This is a time of choice. This is a time to care. This is a time to stand and say yes. This is a time to stand and say no. This is a time of challenge. This is a time for peace. We join together, old and young, frail and strong, hearts and hands, to heal the wounds we have wrought for centuries. There is blood in our water, acid in our land, death in our sky. We join together to take up the sword of truth and the shield of light, to dissolve all boundaries, deceit, and judgment, to stand united once again, I and thou, in the garden of brotherhood. The human heart is common ground. So that's what I want you to remember, that you're in charge of your unified field. Let it be beautiful, let it be bountiful, let it be heart-centered, let it be kind. So we're going to end the video right now. And I say to all